And now, our feature presentation.
I like it spooky.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. I'm Brian.
I am Clint, and I'm really not for sure if I'm more excited to discuss this episode's movie or to get into story time with Clint later on in this episode.
I'm not even... Can we just...
I already know. So when it's been a while. It's been a while since we said this, but pulling back the curtain, Brian and I do our best to not discuss anything of the movies that we're going to cover before we record. That way, the reactions are natural and things like that. But this one, I'll let you know right now before we get to the news, Brian did not like this movie.
I told Clint when he went to see it, I hope you took a nap.
I said, oh boy, because I hadn't got one and it was late. In fact, that movie got over with and I got home like at 12:30, 12:45, and I had to be up at 3:30 to go to work. It was a miserable haul. Hey, let's get to the news so we can find out why Brian didn't like the movie we're discussing.
So I got two things and then something a little longer. The first one, if you grew up in the 80s and you were I don't even know you could say fan, if you watched Faces of Death.
A professor in medical school told me, out of death comes life. I never knew what he meant until I witnessed a terrible tragedy several years ago.
We talked about it last year on the look ahead, the 2025 look ahead.
Yep.
That it was coming. There is now a trailer for the film. It doesn't give you a lot. There is a trailer and a release date. So you can go over to the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast YouTube or TikTok and you can watch the trailer for the new Faces of Death. The next thing that's coming out is from Daniel Roebuck himself.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Organic Intelligence. And again, this trailer does not give you a lot. It gives you a little bit. It gives you the cast, but it just looks like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, a fun, not serious B-made movie.
So based off the trailer, like you say, it doesn't give you a lot. Brian, you told me that you hadn't seen the original yet. One of the things I liked about the original more than the sequel was the original. I mean, it had a plot, but it was just kind of there. And that's part of its charm. The second one had a story and a plot. This one looks like it really doesn't. And Boots and I are fans of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I sing the song all the time. The kids go, oh God, he's doing it again. I showed Boots the trailer and she's smiling and giggling and kind of excited. And then at the very end of that trailer, you see this it's almost claymation. It reminded me of the green Jello video, Little Wolf, Let Me In.
Knocking on his door, little pig, let me in. By the hair of my chinny chin, little pig.
And it's kind of like rising up with this crazy smile in the water. And she just looks at me and she goes, oh, that just ruined it for me.
That ruined it.
Right? Yeah,
So you can also see that trailer on the podcast's social media. I've shared that too. The last thing, and this is probably something that we need to get around to covering on the podcast here. This is from CBR. The greatest zombie movie of the 90s is an instant classic everyone slept on. And it's not talking about any of the 28 Years Later or Night of the Living Dead. It's talking about Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And I've never seen this one. I know we've talked about it a lot. If people are writing articles about this film and how great it is, I definitely need to watch it.
Plus writing current articles years later. When we did Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost back in 2025, I'll tell you right now, if you go back and look through our analytics, it is one of, if not the highest downloaded episodes in this show's history, which is amazing. So I've been thinking about talking to you to say, hey, let's do another Scooby-Doo. You know, I had a great response. On top of that, we referenced that when we covered The Witch's Ghost, and I had said Zombie Island is by far my favorite Scooby-Doo animated anything. So I would love to do that sometime soon.
We got room. We got every other week. We got an episode, but we got a couple things playing before we can get Scooby-Doo.
I already forgot. What was the first movie that you said just a few minutes ago?
For what?
You said there was a movie.
I forgot too.
I don't know. Look at your notes.
Well, there's Faces of Death.
Faces of Death. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was something I wanted to say, and I'm starting to think about Scooby-Doo, and I forgot. If you watch that Faces of Death trailer, at the very end, it kind of pans out, and you see multiple screens with all this crazy, violent shit happening on each of the screens. Pay attention to the right side. I can't remember if it was the upper or the lower, but you'll see a scene, much like the original Faces of Death, where there's a monkey encased in a table and humans hitting the head because they're going to eat its brain. It's the same shot, but it's not a monkey in the table. It's a human trapped in the table. That jumped right out at me.
Kind of my mid-eye area on that one. When I posted the trailer, several people are like, I've seen Face of Death. I was like, this is a new film. That's how little people know about this, or they came out and they forgot about it because they announced it last year and then it just kind of went under the radar. So I don't know what happened, but people have forgotten this was even coming out.
What's going to be interesting about that is, you know, a lot of the footage was debunked in the first 4 films, you know, and anymore with AI and just technology, it is so easy to make something look so real, even though we've talked recently on the past few episodes about how CGI looked better 20 years ago than it does now. So it's going to be really, I want to see it just kind of like when you're watching pro wrestling. I'm watching for, is this real? Is this not real?
So what do you got for news?
I got a few things too, and all of them are real because they are from credible news sources, and one of them is a friend of ours. But first, just a blurb, I'm letting everybody know that if you are a Friday the 13th fan, Pluto TV, coming in February, which today's February 1st of this recording. So when we get done, I can go watch this and lull myself to sleep. And they're putting every Friday the 13th film ever on Pluto for free, which is amazing because it's really hard to find any Friday the 13th that you can stream on Tubi or anything, or even if you have a subscription. You know, it's usually, even if you have a Prime subscription, you still have to rent the damn movie. So I'm excited because I never got around to getting the box set, which I want to, because I thoroughly enjoy those films. They're one of those movies I love to pop on just while I'm cooking dinner. So there's something familiar in the background. But anyway, so now I can go to Pluto TV for at least the month of February and watch that for free. The other thing I want to talk about comes from Bloody Disgusting. It's a very quick blurb. I had heard a little bit about this and just didn't really pay attention, but apparently following Evil Dead Burn this year, another brand new Evil Dead movie is on the way, and it's from, director Francis Galuppi. And Deadline reports that Zach Gilford, Charlotte Hope, Jessica McName, some others, they're all going to be in this other Evil Dead that's coming out later this year. There's no title, and for now, there's no synopsis. 2 Evil Dead movies in 1 year. How can you go wrong with that?
Sounds good to me. What does Ash say?
Groovy. So this is the final news story of this episode, and I'm excited to report this. A good friend of ours, good friend of the show, Mr. Brent Edgett, recently was on a film shoot, and it's made it to Dread Central, and this says the first look at the indie Christmas slasher Shiver, Slain All Night. Production is officially underway with the brand new holiday horror film, and the cool thing is it's got some star power. Warrington Gillette from Friday the 13th Part 2 is on there. John Fiore from The Sopranos and Law & Order. And our friend Brett Edgett, who plays the psycho-maniacal slasher killer named Vincent, who stalks and brutally murders victims one by one as they are on a holiday escape. But now they have to escape him.
We got to cover that, right?
I think we absolutely have to cover that. It's a slasher. We love holiday slashers, and Brent's a good friend. He's been on the show, I think, a couple times now. It's been a little while. I'm really happy to see Brent doing more film work, getting more screen time, and doing things outside of just his cosplay and his haunted house stuff, which is amazing too. But it's always cool to see friends of yours succeeding, and I'm very excited, and I cannot wait to see this project.
One we loved him in in the Friday the 13th when he played Jason. Yeah, I don't remember which one that was, but yeah.
It was, oh gosh, it was a fan film. All I remember is I didn't care for the movie, but his portrayal as Jason from Part 4 was amazing. Brent has this uncanny talent of being able to really hone in on an established character's movements and breathing and psychology. And you see him as playing Jason, or he does Michael Myers, or in his Art the Clown cosplay, which we've talked about multiple times on these shows that we do. And you wouldn't know it's not the real actor. So I'm really interested to see what he's going to do now, bringing this fresh new character to life and really making something of his own.
We're probably going to have to buy copies of the film on physical media, right?
Yeah, we'll be poor. I mean,
I'm already poor. What are you talking about? So on this episode of Poor, like every episode, I bought way more than I should, but most of it is stuck in the mail because as much as I like the U.S. Postal Service, they like to send my mail past my house to Missouri, then Kansas, and then back to Missouri, so I still don't have what I ordered one day last week.
This is what happens when AI is allowed to run operations.
So I got a poster, I got some autograph cards, I got stuff that I'll share on the next episode. One of the things I was able to find, though, at Target in the Quad Cities in Davenport, Iowa, some of the Super 7 Return of the Living Dead figures, and I got Suicide.
Those are fairly hard to come by. One of the guys in the build team, Michael Green, I had to pause, I always call him Green. He was hunting for those and finally found some.
And I got the Lady. So they're kind of a pair.
Trash and Suicide.
The two that are on the poster, yeah. So I grabbed those. They're blind boxes. You don't know what you're going to get. And then I was on Whatnot, and I grabbed Squirm.
Ooh.
From Kino Cult, a sealed copy of that, $5 or $6. And I don't remember if I've shared this one, but this is from Umbrella, and it's a Region B of probably my favorite 90s zombie film, but I haven't seen Scooby-Doo, Night of the Living Dead, the remake. So this is a Region B. It wouldn't play like on a regular, but it was $5, $6, and this is a pretty nice boutique one.
I wonder if the price of that went down because they recently released the new one with the extended kind of director's cut.
Well, and being a Region B, you know, most people don't have region-free players in the United States, so they kind of throw them out there cheap and hope somebody will buy it. And I'm like, well, I'll buy the damn thing.
So explain this to me, because again, you are much more a physical movie collector than myself. If I could buy a Blu-ray of Night of the Living Dead, and I could buy a Region B, what's the difference? Do the Region Bs have a better quality?
So this is Region A. This is a Kino. The Kino's an American company. This is a Region B. Umbrella's a European company. So the way I understand it, because 4Ks are region free. When you have regions, there's A, B, and C. Some stuff's A, some stuff's B, some stuff's C, some stuff is region free. I have a region free player that will play every region, including region free, but it's almost like a licensing thing because Arrow's a prime example. Scream Factory in the United States put out the Funhouse. Well, in England, Arrow put out the Funhouse for that region. I don't know how the regions are set up, but Region A is pretty much Canada, the United States, and maybe South America. So North America, South America. Region B is, I think, Europe and Russia and maybe Italy. And Region C would be like your Asian companies. So it's all about licensing, because if you own the rights to a movie, whoever owns the rights to the Funhouse sold those rights. Scream Factory in the US, Arrow in England, and some other company in Asia. So now the same movie's got three people making copies of it and selling of it, and the person's sitting on 3 checks from 3 different people.
Although I'm following along and I understand what you're saying, I'm wondering if there's listeners right now who are doing what I'm doing, and I've got strings of yarn and thumbtacks in front of me, like stretching out. Okay, so point A to point B. That's crazy.
I think at the time that this was starting, most movies come out in Russia before they're out in the United States. So most releases of physical media would be out in Russia before they're maybe even in theaters here. So that was maybe the industry's way of stopping people from buying releases of films instead of going to a theater, if that makes sense. Superman, whatever year, come out in Russia in April of that year, and maybe it doesn't come out in the US until October. Well, why do I need to go see it in theater? It's already out in Russia. I can just go pick it up in DVD and watch it, you know. So I don't know if that was the reasoning behind it. I never really looked into that, but I like the Region B stuff. I feel like Arrow does a better job, and some of the European countries do a better job than the American countries on the releases.
Well, and that's kind of what I was asking, because sometimes you get different cuts. Like when we did Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, you know, the European cut, which I'm pretty sure is the Blu-ray that we got, is better put together film.
I like Arrow's artwork better than Scream Factory's. Scream Factory, now their special features aren't as good as they used to be. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, well, we kind of know, but if I can grab a copy of this from Umbrella, this is one of my favorite zombie films of all time. I mean, that's right up there with, you know, Return of the Living Dead. I think I showed that Dawn of the Dead box set that I got that was a Region B. That was super cheap because the guy's like, I can't play the damn thing. I can't sell it to most people. You want it? Grab it for $10. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll take it for $10. But yeah, I'm sure I've grabbed some other stuff. But like I said, my cards aren't here. My poster's not here. My Hellraiser cards aren't here. I think there was something else. But yeah, it's all in the mail somewhere, but it's not here. What about you? Did you buy anything?
Well, first, let's have a moment of silence for Brian's stuff that hasn't shown up.
Well, I hope it shows up. I hope it doesn't die.
Actually, I hacked into the system and I had it sent to me, and I'm holding on to it. I'm going to send you a ransom note because per usual, like the last 27 fucking episodes, I have not gotten anything cool for the collection. I can tell you that I have bought some plywood. I have bought some insulation. I bought some plywood. I bought some 2x4s. I bought some plywood, and I have to buy a printer. None of that is fun. None of that is exciting. None of it's worth talking about. All of it continues to make me extremely poor. And I think we should just go ahead and take it to a sponsor.
I want one. Oh, I want one of those.
Bootleg as fuck toys.
You and Fuck, sold separately. You can collect all of your favorite horror, sci-fi, and pop culture parody figure collectibles from Bootleg as Fuck Toys at various horror and pop culture conventions around the country. Keep up with Bootleg as Fuck Toys on Facebook and Instagram. Bootleg as Fuck Toys, taking the you out of fuck and throwing it right into fun.
From Blammo.
So now that we've heard from our sponsor, it's time for the movie, the
Oh boy.
2025 science fiction film. I'm not calling this a horror film. Was there enough?
It's 2026.
Oh, yeah, it's 2026. See, that's how much I dislike this movie. I'm trying to put it in last year so I can forget it more.
You're hoping it's still in production and not out in theaters for you to see?
2026 science fiction film, Iron Lung.
So first of all, using more blood than an Evil Dead flick is a notable accomplishment. Iron Lung holds the world record for the most fake blood, was it fake, used in a movie, approximately 80,000 gallons, beating the 2013 Evil Dead's 70,000.
Oh, I'm sure Evil Dead's going to ratchet that up in the next couple of films and maybe beat that.
Well, it's kind of hard because, I mean, the guy was floating around in a blood ocean.
It's based on a video game.
Based on a PC game.
Directed by Mark Fishbach. He's a YouTuber, aka Mark, I don't even know how to say his name, Markiplier. It's his debut. He also wrote it, he edited it, he financed it, he produced it, and he starred in the film. He did the whole damn thing. I give him big, huge kudos for all of that. But I don't need a 2 hour and 7 minute long about a movie about a guy in a fucking submarine.
Right. So, okay, now hold on, because I knew the length of the film was going to immediately turn you off. We were both excited about this, and we've talked about it the past 2 or 3 episodes based off the trailer. But I knew when I saw over 2 hours, you were going to be like, fuck this. But I have to ask before we get into this, if it was your standard hour and a half, hour and 46 minutes or something like that, do you think you would have enjoyed the film more?
No, because I think I would have had the same problems that I have with it at 2 hours and 7 minutes. I will say the last 15 minutes of the film, I was all in. But getting there, I still don't feel like, because I asked somebody, I was like, why is it 2 hours long? And they're like, well, to build story and build context and characters. And I was like, but it didn't fucking do that. It didn't do that. You know, I don't know any more about this guy than I knew about it when I started. He's a convict. I know that. They're on this planet to save humanity. I don't really know why the fuck they're there. What's in this ocean other than this weird creature, I guess, kinda. I only see its eyeball and hear it going around. Like, what's really going on here?
So I'm gonna give you that the film did not do a good job of translating some of the basic story facts from the game, which I don't know because I've never played the game. I've never heard of this project before I saw the trailer and found out that Boots was excited about it. I have been able to pick up tidbits from her and her friends since they follow Mark's YouTube channel. Boots' friend Aubrey has played the game. Boots has not, but she's watched some playthroughs. So I think I have a little bit more grasp on the story than you, that if you had those tidbits, you would have enjoyed it more. But I will say, going back to the trailer, like I say, that hooked both of you and I, like, oh my God, I got to go see this when it comes out. I found a fact that says the film was originally slated for 60 theaters. And within 1 week of the trailer being released, it took over 1,500 plus theaters. And so that trailer was impactful.
I think the synopsis is impactful. The fact that he has this huge following, I looked it up, I should have wrote it down. He has a huge following on YouTube, like millions of followers on YouTube. I went on and looked some of his videos. He makes content, he plays video games. And one of the other things that after the fact I found out made me dislike the fact that it was 2 hours long even fucking more. Because you go and you look at the guy that made the games, and there was two things. First thing was, the game is intended to be completed in under an hour. So if I can play the whole fucking game in an hour, why can't the movie be over in a fucking hour? I can play the whole game. I can save fucking humanity in an hour, but he needs 2 hours and 7 minutes?
No, I had that point written down. I was going to get to it, as I was told by Boots and her friend that the game is a relatively quick play, that a playthrough, it pretty much lasts on average about 30 minutes. But no, I agree. The movie was quite a bit longer. I will also agree with you that I didn't have as much of an issue with the length or the pacing of this movie that you did, but I will 100% agree with, after the kind of the story setup, the little bit of story setup and a little bit of introduction of characters that we do get when he first starts his voyage, I thought there was way too much time spent with him navigating and going to the map and writing down. I think you could have shaved probably 10 minutes or more off of that and made this, a normal length film. I get what they were doing. They were trying to express that he was voyaging for a long time, which there's a line that states that later in the film. So we didn't need that. You could have done some time lapse. But let's go back to what we always talk about, Brian, especially in indie films, which this is an indie film and it's a directorial debut. It is really hard for beginning artists, emerging artists, to edit themselves. And this is a prime example of that.
I will say I give him total credit. This is something I've never done. I will probably never do. Make the full-length film, have it be number 2 at the box office, have it go from being at 60 theaters to being pretty much a full theatrical release. I think most theaters got this. Like you said, we need somebody to kind of be like, hey, let's rein this in a little bit. Let's edit yourself a little bit, and I mean, if it does well, he's probably gonna do something else. I can't imagine he wouldn't. But like you said, if I knew maybe a little more about the game and maybe about him, I would love this. My nephew, who plays the game and knows this YouTuber, he said, you got to go see this movie. And I was like, I already went and seen it. I went straight from work on a Thursday night. I was the only one in the theater.
Really?
I may have been the only fucking person in the goddamn AMC the whole night, because I went in, the girl's reading a book. I had to hey, is that a good book? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. So I get my food and I go, I catch the trailers. About an hour in, I had to take a piss. So I was like, well, I'm probably not going to miss anything because I haven't missed anything yet. So I go to the bathroom. Nobody in the lobby. Nobody. The people that worked there were the only people there. I leave the film. It's 7:30 and there's nobody in the fucking AMC when I leave the movie. So I don't know if I was the only person seeing a movie or if I was part of an episode of The Twilight Zone.
I think you were part of the episode of A Twilight Zone.
You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
So a few things. One, we got a week ahead of time. So this movie came out, it come out Friday, but you can always see it Thursday night. So the Sunday before, So a week before this movie released, we got online to get tickets. Rebecca's been on this kick about if we're going to go to the movies to pre-order them. I think it was because when her and I went to see Housemaid, I didn't think it was going to be packed, and it was packed, and we had to sit up front. So a week prior to this film coming out, we get online. We wanted to go to the 6:30 show. Friday night, there was 2 showings, a 6:30 and a 9:30. The 6:30 was already almost all sold out, and there was a few seats up front. So I was like, well, no, I'm not going to try to watch this movie. I knew it'd be hard to watch the front row with lean back trying to see it. So we chose the 9:30 show. And when we did, there were still quite a few seats. By the time we showed up to watch the film, that theater was almost packed. So there was a lot of people that went to see this, and you say you think he's going to do other things if it's successful. I guarantee you that it's going to be, whether people love it or hate it, because that, going back to that trailer and the huge following that Mark has, he's going to make money off this. Boots was telling me that he's on his channel. This was earlier tonight. We were having dinner, and she was like, "Oh, he's on there, celebrating that he's the #1 movie right now." Which, I mean, he should.
I thought that Send Help was the #1 movie of the weekend, but maybe it's close, or I
don't know for sure either. I was just going off what she told me. Maybe there's different categories or whatever. But back to the trailers real quick. It was pretty much the same shit I've seen, the past few times. I've been going to the theater a lot lately. And that's something too, is lately, almost every movie I go see, there's a lot of fucking people in the theater. It's like the theater is finally back. And I don't know if it's because they're releasing indie projects like this. I wonder if the Hollywood blockbusters that are bound to come out later this year, like this summer, if there's a new Marvel movie, is it going to be packed or is it not going to be packed?
Well, and here I was in the theater by myself, so I was like, well, I can type out what my trailers were for my movie. My first trailer, Gale, Yellow Brick Road, which is the Wizard of Oz film.
That's been forever. We talked about like 2 years ago we brought that up.
So that finally had a super short, like 25-second trailer. Hunger Games, Sunrise of the Reaping, Passenger, which looked promising for about the first 10 seconds, and then ended up being a ghost movie, and I'm like, no, I'm good. Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, which looks interesting. The Bride, I don't know. After seeing the trailer, I'm not sure about it. It looks well made, and like the costume design and the acting, it'll be good, and the music will be good. I just don't know about the story. Hokum, which is one we talked about.
That's the trailer that I saw that I hadn't seen yet. And I remember when you brought that up, I said, it sounds like it's going to be batshit crazy, or it's going to be kind of an atmospheric film. And it looks actually, based off the trailer, like a good blend of both. I want to see it.
Disclosure Day, The Mortuary Assistant, which is another movie that's based on a game, and a Dracula film that's maybe British. Looked like it started with like early Dracula, like where he's going and marching and putting people on spigots, and then his wife is killed, so then he becomes the murderous creature of darkness. That's what I had before mine. It was quite a bit of trailers.
I always think it's amazing that it's always different trailers, but then again, we always go to different theater chains. Some of them are the same, but some of them are different. Speaking of indie projects and the trailers, and are the theaters packed because there's more indie projects? It goes back to what we talked about in the past recently about the SAG-AFTRA strike. It's been over 3 years, and we're still feeling the ripple effects of that strike. I found out that this project would have been released, I think in 2023 or 2024, but because of the strike, it was not.
This had a budget. I've seen where they're like, we don't know, it wasn't announced, but then I've seen 3 to 3.5 million, and its predictions for opening weekend were like 9 to 10. I guess I could pull up what it made this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't look at any figures.
Yeah, grossing approximately 18 million. So it's made its budget doubled. It's made its money back. There's definitely success here, and it goes back to that science fiction, indie horror that you can make on a small budget, get people interested, and get them in the theaters. And right now you have 2 horror science fiction with Send Help from Sam Raimi that are 1 and 2 at the box office. And if Hollywood's not noticing this, I don't know what it's going to take, but somebody has to be like, okay, we can make these films for a relatively small budget, pump them out, and get people in the theaters.
I still think they're too in their echo chamber and in their own bubble to notice, but it hasn't been proven to me otherwise in years, that they're paying attention, which is fine.
It just sucks because there's so many great horror artists and indie people that aren't getting their stuff in the big theaters, where people can see it.
That's the part of it, is the release. That's the part of it that does suck, is the release. But hey, if they make trailers as good as Iron Lung, then maybe they can go from 60 to 1,500 plus. So I want to get back to just real quick again about the general consensus, actually, is that this film was too long. I don't feel that, even though the scenes I thought that could have been pared down were 100% useless filler, but again, I think it could have been pared down a little bit. I do think that I wish that Mark, the filmmaker, would have done a better job of not making the movie so much for fans of the game. If he would have made it, appeal to the mass audience, so we all kind of knew what the hell was going on. Because in my notes I have here, the movie, it did take so long, and I didn't get up to use the bathroom, so I text myself notes a lot in the theater, and then I'll go out and write them down on the way home. And the last thing I text myself was, "Oh my God, I really got to fucking pee," because I had to. It was bad. But when the movie ended, Brian, I've never experienced this in a theater before, a crowded theater. The movie ended, a fairly packed theater. Everybody was quiet. You could feel it. You could hear it. It wasn't because they were credit watchers, because most of them got up about halfway through the credits. I'm looking around, and it's because everybody, including myself, was trying to figure out what the fuck it was that I just watched. What just happened to me? What just happened on the screen? How do I feel about it? For me, it was in a good way. For you, it sounds like it was in a bad way. But regardless, everybody was like, what is this?
And I didn't hate the film. I just kind of felt like, you ever go somewhere and you're like, oh, that was it? Spent 2 hours of my life doing that?
Yeah, pretty much every day I go to UPS.
You're like, oh, I'm super excited to go eat this new place because everybody tells me it's amazing, or go to this new shop because everybody thinks it's great. And then you go and you leave and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, maybe the food was okay and you're full, or you found a couple cool things, but you're like, man, that was kind of a letdown. That's how I personally felt. When you tell me you're going to use 80,000 gallons of blood, I think I'm going to see some people getting fucking chopped and hacked and some crazy shit happening. And that does happen at the end, but I feel like, I don't know, did you really need 80,000 gallons? Was it just in the sub in a pool of blood? Like, where did you use that at?
There was no people to hack because it was the end of humanity. To the best of our knowledge, there was only like 4 people alive. And of course, early on in the film, Mark zapped one of them. And I laughed out loud because later on in the film, the convict, but I forget what his character name was. We'll just say the convict, who's, in the sub, in the Iron Lung, in the blood ocean. He made a discovery, and the lead scientist, the female scientist who he was, communicating with, she was like, go get Steve. I can't remember, I think his name was Steve. Go get Steve. Like, he's been radiated. He can't even stand up. And she's like, well, stand him up. It was just funny. But there was one really great scene in the film, and it was towards the end when all the action picked up, which it sounds like it's what you enjoyed most, which it was enjoyable. It was in the crawl space. It was one of those scenes in a movie where I think after you see it, of course, you know what's going to happen, but every time you watch it, you are hoping the other thing happens. Like, oh, I hope it's different this time. Like when you're watching a Rocky fight, like, oh, I hope Rocky lands this punch. You know Rocky's not going to land the punch, but you just still like, oh, I hope. And I thought that was a really great scene. And the crescendo of the film was phenomenal. But the movie also reminded me of Ren and Stimpy's Space Madness.
3, 2, 1, blast off to adventure in the amazing year 400 billion with Commander Hawk and his faithful companion Cadet Stimpy as they roam the endless uncharted regions of space at speeds so fantastic they twaddle the imagination.
It also reminded me of a serious rendition of when SpongeBob went to the rock bottom. Do you remember that episode? I know SpongeBob's not allowed in your house, but did you see that episode?
Yeah, well, just because they don't watch it, maybe that I do. I watch SpongeBob.
Like late at night, like they're sleeping. I'm going to go get in the fridge and eat shit I can't eat and drink whiskey and watch SpongeBob.
I saw a meme the other day. It made me think of people that I know, and it's a lady punching a guy. You're watching another horror movie? Why don't you just watch porn like a normal person?
The other thing this movie reminded me of, to any of my haunt actors or anybody that's been around me in a creative space, they'll probably attest to this. It reminds me of one of my haunt mental breakdowns, because Mark's acting was superb. And I'm not joking anyway, because it can be stressful sometimes. His acting was superb. And one thing that, Brian, I think you have to give the film credit for is, yeah, we didn't get any new information direction. There wasn't really a story arc. We don't know where point A was and where point B was and how it started and ended. But watching him go through the emotional swings and be able to pull himself out of it, I thought it was relatable. And I thought it was just a great fucking performance.
And I'm thinking when you were talking about the irradiated people, and there's some, maybe it's not supposed to be comedy relief, but I laughed. Do you remember at one point the female voice is talking to him and he says, "I'm sorry. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know that it was radiation." And I think she said, "Say sorry to my tumors," or something along those lines.
Yeah. Yep. She was very, very dry. He's trying to be empathetic and just be a human. And she said, "We'll say you're sorry to my tumors." And he's just like, what do I say to that? You know? So this is a very unconventional movie. And I kind of just alluded to it, but I'm going to give perhaps an unconventional take on it. And this is weird, so follow me and I'll explain if anybody needs me to. I feel that the tension and the pacing of this film was much like an iron lung. If you don't know, an iron lung is this giant machine that you go in and helps you breathe. And so they're kind of like this, picture this like big Brillo pad that fills up with air and then it decompresses, and it fills up with air and it decompresses. And that's what this movie did. The tension, it filled up with air and it decompressed, and then it kind of got all tense again, and then it went back to something manageable. And so it's almost like it was made like, is that why he named it that? But on the oxygen level, something weird that happened that I didn't understand, and Boots found out, she did some digging for me, is towards the end. So the ship, the Iron Lung, it has 4 oxygen bars, and every so often he loses oxygen. And then at one point in the film, it replenishes, and nobody knows why. He's shocked. The scientist who he's trying to radio on top of the blood ocean, I'm assuming, it was like, "I don't know how this happened. You should be dead." Boots said it's because when the blood started to enter the sub, and blood has oxygen in it.
Well, and I think it got to 1, and then he's lost for months or weeks.
I think it was weeks.
And he's still at 1, and they didn't understand why. And it was because that happened because he had been gone for weeks, so he should have been out of oxygen long time ago. So there's those little things that you never really know why or what is going on. And that was one of my other issues. Was I looked at some of the games this guy made that this film is based on, and there's another movie that I thought, another game, and I was like, God damn, why didn't he pick this movie? But I can see why after the fact. I don't know if you did any digging. There's a film called Butcher's Creek.
I've heard of that.
2025 first-person melee survival game developed by the guy that made, Iron Lung. The player controls an unnamed loner on a search for snuff videotapes, which leads him to an abandoned cabin near the town of Butcher's Creek, Pennsylvania. The game is heavily inspired by the horror games Manhunt and Condemned Criminal Origins. That sounds like it would have been a freaking cool game to be made into a movie.
It's not this, but what you said makes me think of, you've heard of the Puppet Combo games, and I think there's actually a Puppet Combo movie coming out, and it's like I think it's the gas station slasher one or something.
Oh, okay. So I was like, damn, I want to see that one, but I maybe need to sit down and watch my nephew or my son Jack play this game and see if it does anything for me. I probably need to sit down with somebody that understands, the concept in the movie and the game, and maybe follows this guy online and see how they can maybe feed me some stuff so that I can like this movie a little bit more. Because there's a lot of stuff about it that is good, but it's over 2 hours long. So, that exactly knocks a point off of it for me.
I think we were walking out of the theater and I looked at Rebecca and I said, Brian's going to hate this fucking movie because it's 2 hours and 7 minutes. I didn't notice the time drag. When I walked out, I wasn't like, oh my God, we've been here for 2 hours and 7 minutes. Besides the fact that there was that one stretch where I thought could have been pared down and I had to use the bathroom real bad. But I was invested in the performance. I'm always a story guy. This time there was no story. So the next best thing was the performative art, which I thought was amazing. So let's rate it.
I'm going to try to be nice. If you give it a 5, you would watch it again, right?
Correct.
And 6 is I'd watch it again and it has some redeeming quality.
Sure.
Sound about right?
Yeah, that works.
So I'm going to go
He's like, so I'm going to go 2.
I'm going to go a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
6.5 out of 10. Whatever that weird fucking sea creature thing was. Like octopus almost.
I don't know either. I keep making the joke that, especially with what happens to him when he's exposed to too much of the blood. And I said, he looked like Vecna. I was like, this is Vecna's backstory. This is how that whole project Manitalk started. It was actually in a different universe.
I would watch this again. I would watch it again if somebody's like, hey, I want to watch this Iron Lung movie. I'm like, okay. I will say it is definitely one of those movies that you need to be in a very quiet space, in a very dark room to get kind of the full effect of it. You feel that way?
Yeah, I think so. This isn't a put it on while I'm cooking dinner like earlier I talked about doing one on Pluto TV with the Friday the 13th film and still have a good time with it. No, you gotta settle in for this one.
What about you?
At the end of the day, I appreciated something different. And I mean, I think everyone needs to see this film at least once, but I really don't know how to rate this or what number I would even give it. I'm still kind of digesting this film. So I'm simply going to say that it was intriguing. It was very well acted. I enjoyed the viewing and I will watch it again willingly at some point. And I know that may sound like a cop-out, but I'm not quite for sure what number to give this because I still don't really quite know what this is. And I think maybe that was what was so interesting. It was like a system shock. You know, it did not stick to your normal formula, although I'm not going to hail this as some groundbreaking cinema masterpiece that's going to wind up in an archive museum somewhere. It's been a while since a movie's come along that's just been so different that you're like, what the it rebooted my system. What the fuck am I watching? I think it's a film that everybody needs to see once. I'm interested to see where Mark goes from here. I do agree there are some things about this film where as a filmmaker, I think he could professionally mature a little bit with some of the mechanics. Go check it out. And don't be a Brian, be a Clint and embrace and explore the blood ocean of new indie cinema.
I don't swim in the regular ocean, let alone the blood ocean.
I'm afraid of sharks.
Yeah, me and you both. Wonder if some of our friends at the PFPN have seen this and what they think of it.
You know what I did find out just before this recording?
What's that?
Our friend, Brian Clark, has recently decided to sit down and take in the Night Court franchise.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty excited about that. We've been chatting about Night Court off and on throughout the day a little bit. And so he's rebooting his system. So if they're going to take a chance on something I love, I'll take a chance on them. Let's go listen to our podcast network.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now that we've heard from our podcast network, it's time for some recommendations. And like you said, it's hard to recommend films that I think people would like if they like this because it's so different. So, I mean, I have movies, but I don't know that any of them are going to match well with this.
I got one that'll completely throw you off.
I have Event Horizon from 1997.
Ooh, nice.
A lost spaceship returns from a black hole with terrifying consequences. I love Event Horizon.
I've heard rumblings about a sequel for that recently.
Oh, that would be fun. You could go with Alien from 1979. Quintessential space horror film where crew battles a deadly extraterrestrial aboard their ship. Not really, but kinda. I mean, The Abyss, a deep ocean drilling team encounters a mysterious, possibly sentient aquatic force. Again, I don't know. This one, because it's newer, and I think the younger people would probably like this one, even though it doesn't match well with it. The Void from 2016.
Yeah, we've talked about the movie a couple times. Yeah, that's and I never finished that, but you watch a good chunk of that movie trying to, what the fuck, what, you know?
Surreal cosmic horror where a hospital siege unlocks nightmarish dimensions. Another one, Annihilation from 2018. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
No.
Well, a team enters a zone where alien biology wraps reality and psyche. They have this group of all males goes in and they go missing, so they send a group of all females in, and it's got that weird creature, kind of warps the creatures in the area. It's weird too. Yeah, it's hard to find a movie that maybe Event Horizon's the one that would pair best with this. I don't know what you have.
It depends on what angle you look at, and we talk about that with recommendations quite a bit too. We're talking about things that we think people will like, or is it similar how the story is told? Probably to me, the one that you brought up that most pairs is The Void, because again, I don't know if the story actually ever develops in that, and that's I think one of the problems with Iron Lung is, again, it was made for, I think, fans of the game, and so from an outsider not knowing anything about it, it seemed like the story never really developed. It was just kind of there. But I have two that I want to throw in, and the first one is, you're gonna giggle, Dennis Quaid, 1980, whatever the hell it was, Inner Space. Remember that, where they go in the thing and he goes in Martin Short's body or whatever? I know it's a comedy, but it was kind of sort of up the same vein. The other one is, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, Dune. Not the new sequel, because I didn't even see it. Actually, I heard a lot of people said they didn't care for it. The original Dune, I had a really hard time getting into that movie, because every time I sat down to watch it, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
This episode drops February 15th. It's after Valentine's Day, and it's still winter time in the Midwest. I don't really have anything going on. There is a Friday the 13th early in that week, so there's...
Yeah, it's the day before Valentine's Day.
You know, the movies, there's a lot of places they're playing Friday the 13th films. The Last Picture House is showing Possession on the day this episode drops with The Void Church, so I may go check that out. Tiffany hates Valentine's Day. She boycotts it, so I don't have to take her out for a steak dinner or anything. There are some conventions coming up. I Heart Horror Day, February 21st in Sireville, New Jersey. Dead of Winter Horror Festival, that's in Worcester, Massachusetts, the 21st and 22nd.
I think that's more of a film festival, but last year they had our friends, the Toxic Punks, there.
Big Texas Horror, that's not till March. Days of the Dead, Atlanta.
Yeah, that's in the end of February, right?
February 20th and 22nd in Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, there are some conventions starting to... Oh, Mad Monster Party in Carolina. That's in Conrad, North Carolina. That's February 20th and 22nd. So there are some conventions starting to happen, and some people getting out on the road, some celebrities and whatnot. Start supporting your vendors.
Yes.
That's something we should have talked about on the news. Did you see the clip of Danielle Harris?
Yes, I sent it to you.
Yeah, you sent it to me. She's telling another celebrity to charge more money. And it really pissed me off, because she even goes into saying, I don't pay for my travel. I don't pay for my food. I don't pay for my hotel. I have a guarantee. I told this person they should charge more money. What? Why? If she's making her guarantee and people are able to come up and get autographs and then have some money to go shop with vendors, she's doing it the right way, not the way where people don't have extra cash to go and buy other stuff outside of the autographs.
I saw that both ways. When I sent that to you, and then, you responded, I agreed with everything you were saying, but then I went back and watched it again. And what I saw was and I'm not sticking up for what she said, because I agree with it, but I don't. I watched it again and I saw that she wasn't being spiteful. She wasn't being snarky or snotty. She wasn't being entitled. She wasn't being a star. I deserve all this. She was speaking as a business owner. She had on her business hat and she was thinking with a business mind. So everything she said made sense for her.
I guess it wasn't that she was telling this person to charge $100 or $200. I think the person was charging maybe $20.
She was talking about Dee Wallace, and she's like, Dee, you're E.T.'s mom, for God's sakes. Why you're charging $40 for an autograph? You should charge more. She goes, and then I think now she charges $60 or something.
I thought it was even less than $40. I thought issues.
Yeah, it might have been 20, then it went to 40. Yeah, I think you're right.
Which is still, for Dee Wallace, is great. I think I get upset about it because I go to these shows and I'm like, that person's that much? And now they want $20 for a picture on top of it. They're pricing me out of these experiences and meeting these people because I go to conventions. I want to support vendors because I know without vendors, stuff doesn't happen.
That's what I say. I see both sides of it. But I will go on record that I don't think she was being a bratty Hollywood starlet. But I when I saw it, I was kind of like taken back a little bit. Like, you made this public? This might be a conversation you have with your spouse or your friend or your agent or something. You know what I mean?
Not on video.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
Although this episode, I feel like I've been a bratty podcast co-host.
No, hey, just because you don't like something doesn't mean you've been a brat. If you were a brat, you would have said, you know what, I watch this, I hate this, and we're not going to do it. And I'd have been like, okay, I'll just do it myself. I'll call Rod. We'll let him butcher the episode.
Oh, God. So what do you got going on? Anything?
So I got a story time with Clint coming up. It's not super long, I swear to God, but I do have an announcement outside of that. I've already posted this on my socials. Inkabeers.com. I didn't travel at all last year. I'm not traveling at all this year. I want to go be a vendor. I miss being on the road. I just don't have time, and things are really staying on timeline. I'm really making a lot of progress out there. At least that's how I feel right now to Haunting the Hills and Psychotherapy. So, but I'm also shutting down the web store, and it's mainly because I'm going to have a storefront with Gruesome Gifts opening up late spring, early summer. But also, I just don't have time on top of everything else right now to fulfill the orders and also keep my products fresh and promote the site and everything. So it's not, getting buried. Inkmirrors.com is still going to be alive and well, but I'm putting it into, as I said in the post, suspended animation until I inject it with green ink at a later date and bring it back.
You killed him. No, I did not. I gave him life.
So right now, from the time that you're hearing my voice through March 8th of 2026, it is a site-wide 40% off. Everything is 40% off. Again, excluding Haunting the Hills merch and I Like It Spooky Horror podcast merch. So anything on there, the candles, the collectibles, the t-shirts, get on there. I've had some people take advantage of the sale since I announced it. And I go through kind of spurts where I'll get a lot of orders and then it'll slow down and then there's a hit and miss and then I'll get a lot. There's really no rhyme or reason to it, which is another reason I wanted to kind of put a pause on having a site out, because if it's something you can count on, you can rely on, then you plan for it. But when you get this like explosion of, oh shit, I've got 20 orders to fill, I don't have time for this right now, it can be a lot, but I don't make enough off it to hire an assistant yet. So, hey, like I say, 40% off inkmirrors.com through March 8th, and then the site will no longer be available for a undisclosed amount of time. Now, story time with Clint. I've posted this in the socials as well, and it's probably been 2.5 weeks since I posted. Now that you're hearing this, I recently found out that scenes from the 2012 rom-com 5-Year Engagement were shot at the Old Golden Nugget, which is now Psychotherapy. I mentioned it last episode that I heard that. Since then, I've sat down and watched the film, and they're there. I was watching the whole movie and I'm kind of like, it's like 3/4 of the way into the movie. It's like the end of the second act, kind of very beginning of the third. And I was like, I think this, the information I got was wrong. And then boom, out of nowhere, they're looking for a wedding venue. And the comedian, I forget his name, but if you saw him, you know him. He says, well, my Uncle Randy has a barbecue joint, which is funny because Randy's barbecue is right next door to Haunting in the Hills. Randy's father built the Gold Nugget and Stagecoach Stop. And at the time of the film, I think Randy's was trying to develop the Nugget into a Randy's barbecue restaurant, and they were having events and stuff like that. And then, yeah, there's the Nugget in all its glory. I'm seeing all these things that I'm repairing in actual working order and maintained and looking fresh and new and painted and glorious brass. And oh my God, go watch the film. I know we're a horror podcast. Rom-coms aren't necessarily up our alley. There are some bizarre ass things that happen in this movie where you're going to be like, what the fuck was this? So go check it out, and you can see Psychotherapy when it was something else and before I got my hands on it.
That would be a movie to watch for Valentine's Day or shortly thereafter.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, if you want to, celebrate Valentine's Day, trick Tiff and saying, hey, I want to watch this because Clinton said we got to see what the Nugget used to look like, and then just reach over and go, Happy Valentine's, and then she'll punch you in the face.
I can't remember that actor's name either. He's in one of my favorite comedies, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and he was on How I Met Your Mother, the tall guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, I'll watch it. Isn't it crazy, though? 2012 is not that long ago.
2012 is
14 years ago.
Oh, okay. That's still pretty long.
I mean, it is, but like everything was up and running then. Now you're redoing everything.
You wouldn't believe some of the shit I'm getting into. Well, I post the shit on the socials all the time, so yeah, it's easy to believe. But yeah, it doesn't take long. And God, I'll make this quick. I've said it before and I'll say it again. A lot of times what I find simple $5 fixes or simple 10 minutes of your day cleaning out, someone would have cleaned out the gutters 10 years ago. There wouldn't be $1,000 repair to be had right now. It doesn't take much to maintain stuff.
Well, we're going to try to maintain our sanity and not go into an ocean of blood. And we're going to go watch, I don't know what's next on our radar. We haven't decided yet.
I thought we decided right before the show. Or you're building suspense like we don't know what we're doing, but we really do. Wait, do we?
Kind of like the guy that was looking for, he didn't know what in the fucking ocean of blood because they wouldn't tell him where he was going.
That you know what the Iron Lung was about? It was about marriage. This guy was told that he had to go do something and then he'd be let out of it, and then he was never let out of it, and he was tortured until he turned into a hideous monster and died. The end. Happy Valentine's Day.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.